New Year's Eve, and the RS is torn apart. Wonder what we're doing. Any guesses?
Ay, tú sabes, mami. Ja, vamos para allá, vamos para allá.
These are Anderson Composites carbon fiber fenders for the Ford Focus RS. And we are going to be installing these today. I already have the RS torn apart. I've already done a few modifications to make this fender fit correctly. As we all know, that carbon fiber panels don't always fit right out of the box. So as you can tell, the RS is torn apart, and I will do my best to really kind of just go over some of the things that you need to kind of focus on when you are tearing the bumper off, the fenders off, and the side skirts off. If you do plan on replacing the fenders with carbon fiber fenders, or really in general, if you need to get to a component on your car and you have to tear a bumper or a fender or a side skirt off. I do recommend taping your edges and your door edges so you don't scratch your paint, because that just costs a lot more money and you don't want to do that. So you can tell, you can see this fender hole I did have to kind of file out a little bit more for more adjustment, along with these two right here. I also have this guy. So this guy goes right here. This is what holds your bumper tabs on the side. But the holes for this are not drilled correctly. So I'm gonna have to fix that as well. And that will be the last thing I do before I put the bumper on. I'd rather have the fender on so I can figure out exactly where these holes need to go. So let's go ahead and put this on. Like I said before, make sure you tape your edges. You definitely don't want to scratch your paint because that would be no good. Okay. You get the screws. So just real quick, I will tell you that you do have a bolt that it threads into here, and that's on the inside of the fender. You have one up here, two up here, two there, and two below. This one isn't terribly hard to get to, but you do need to have your fender liner removed to get to it. And I also don't recommend using a power tool on this, mostly because if you do use a power tool, it will bend this tab, and we don't want to bend this tab because it does bend easily. Now, one thing I will tell you is the gap along the door. Again, carbon fiber parts don't always fit out of the box. Sometimes there's some fitment issues you just can't correct. I'll show you, I'll get this real adjusted, I'll bolt it down, and then you can kind of see what I'm talking about, but it won't ever be like OEM panels. So this panel, or this tab right here, will actually need to put two spacers on. And the reason we need to put spacers on is because when this is flush and everything's bolted on, this part actually sucks in a lot more, and we had to kind of bring it out. And you always need to check the clearances from when the door's opened to make sure it doesn't nick the side of the carbon fiber. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Since I've already test fitted these, I know how it fits. But these are the type of adjustments you'll have to do in order to, again, get your carbon fiber parts, panels, and whatnot fit. And I will tell you, no matter how expensive the carbon fiber is, there will always need to be adjustments. So best way to do this really is to go ahead and just bolt it up. Bolt up your fender, see where it fits, and then make your adjustments. There's a lot of adjustments you need to do. Hood clearance, headlight gap, and then also your door clearance. Those are the most important ones because you don't want to slam your hood on your carbon fiber fender, but you also don't want a whole bunch of gaps. Okay, now on to this piece. Now this part right here is what holds the bumper edges or bumper tabs to the car. You have to modify it just a little bit. I had to cut two of these little tabs off right here. They're really small just because there's no real protrusions for it, and just the way this part is really quite made. And you can see about right here, I had to square out some of these holes. Now these hold the plastic inserts that it will bolt onto. There are actually two of them, and so just got to make sure they are just enough to get up in there and make sure they're nice and snug. You don't want them falling out. And it needs to be square so these don't spin around when you're trying to bolt them on. I also had to modify a little bit of this hole and this hole too, basically elongate it to be able to fit this part and this guide right here. This piece right here, just kind of, I made a hole just for it to go through, just for some extra support. Basically, just kind of slide it here. Now, this is where the tricky part is you want to leave yourself enough material and enough wiggle room to align your bumper. You do want to mimic the factory fender holes, mostly because when you put this in, you want to make sure your bumper sits flush with this fender. Now, I've already tested this and the bumper does fit really flush, basically because I did measurements from here to here, from the edge to the edge of here, to make sure that the bumper is almost the same as OEM. Now, these carbon fiber fenders actually flare out, I believe, either 1/8 or 1/4 inch more. So you definitely want to make sure you have your edges lined up, because I've seen some of these carbon fiber fenders installed and you can tell that there's a lot of poke on this and the bumper's kind of sunk in, so you definitely want to kind of protrude the bumper out. Now, that isn't going to cause any kind of alignment issues with the arrested components. You're just basically flaring the edges of the bumper out a little more. You just want your body lines to look good. You don't want to be going around with mismatched body lines. So let's go ahead and get this installed. And when you're messing with carbon fiber parts, I would always suggest using hand tools, not power tools, because you can definitely over torque and you can crack your carbon fiber, which would be no good either. So I'm going to go ahead and do this to the other side, and then we'll go ahead and install the bumper. So as you can see, the front bumper does have quite a bit of carbon fiber parts already on it. The front cover here is Anderson Composites carbon fiber cover, and it is actually owned by Cybon. So if you order from Cybon or Anderson Composites, it's the same product. Fog light covers and the canyards are from Ventus Veloci. Now, we do plan on getting these PPF'd, or paint protection film. The bumper already has PPF on it, but I'd highly recommend doing that, especially since it's on the front of the car, mostly because it'll have the most direct impact with debris on the road. Also, PPF helps a lot with sun fade and UV protection as well. These are epoxy clear coated with UV protectant, but if your car sits outside, I do highly recommend also paying the extra money to do PPF. So with that all said, let's go ahead and get this installed so I can finish the installation and show you guys the overall product. The one to kind of pay attention to is this plug right here. This is for your fog lights. So just remember to plug those in. So these tabs right here are your quick release tabs for the bumper. So once you have your fasteners taken out from your bumper tabs, this right here is also the part that you lift up and you pull, and then when you put your bumper on, you just make sure you snap it in place. This will hold your bumper in while you can put your tabs in. All right, the headlight. So the headlight is actually pretty easy to install. You got a tab right here that you need to put in, and it slides right in this slot right here. And then you got your one connector. It takes some finagling, but you can do it with the bumper on. First thing you want to do is plug in your headlight. And then kind of just get it in there. And then there is a black tab. I pulled off because it kept falling off when I was removing the fender. And this is what your screw thread's in over here. So just slide that in, and then you use just basically the screw that you removed. And it's only 2 screws that holds the headlight in. So I found another tab that needs to be filed. So here's the tab that needs to go in that hole. Let's see if that was enough. Well, there you have it. The car is put back together and it looks absolutely amazing. The fenders really brought a different aggression to the front end. It is a little bit wider in the front, and it actually matches the offset of the wheels that we have on there, which is the whole idea to begin with. But right now, I'm going to end this video right here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope this helps some of you that are looking into getting these fenders. If you have any questions, comment below, and I will try to answer them the best I can. Hope you guys had a good New Year's, and I hope 2024 brings the best, and we will see you in my next video.